Hello everyone, this is Ailron looking at Orcs Must Die Unchained. This is the Effective Traps series, and today we're looking at the restricted section, trying to find the best traps that I can for this map. As usual, I'll be mainly doing damage with traps and not heroes. Let's take a look at the traps that we're going to use. So on this level, there are a lot of places that are kind of necessary to put barricades, and one of the challenges with that is all of the entrances except for this southwest entrance have kamikaze kobolds, and they are happy to destroy all your barricades if you let them. So you need some way to deal with that, and the way that I've found that works the best is to use Brimstone. There are 3 locations you can put Brimstone, one for this entrance, one for this entrance, one for this entrance, where you can prevent all the kobolds from wrecking your barricades. So I'm going to use Brimstone here, not as a damage trap, but just purely to take out the kamikazes. And the rest of the traps, as usual, big game hunting Ballista, and the other ones are the damage traps, 2 wall traps, Spitfire and wall blades, as well as floor Scorcher. So you might say of the traps, why pick wall blades versus, say, wall charger or maybe even grinder? The wall blades have the advantage over wall charger. They do pretty much the same damage, pretty much the same recharge rate, but they're significantly cheaper. The main advantage that the wall charger has is its lightning damage, so it can cause enemies to explode. But wall blades end up being a lot more cost effective, so that's why we picked that. Spitfire walls are a good wall choice for walls that are a little bit too far away for wall blades. That's why we have those. Let's take a look at the parts that we're having in these. So for Brimstone, we are, since this is not a damage trap really, the Siphon is sort of irrelevant, and so is Fire Resonator. The main thing of interest here is Short Spring. In general, for survival, I think the Charging Spring is the most useful. Charging Spring increases the refire rate by 20%, and it doesn't change the cost. Short Spring here slows the refire rate but reduces the cost a lot, and that's the reason we're doing that here is 1 Brimstone is good enough to take out all the kamikazes at an entrance, even if you use a Short Spring. So we'll just use Short Spring to reduce the cost. Again, we're not using it as a damage trap anyway, so it doesn't really matter as long as it does its job. BGH Ballista with 1 Charging Spring is good enough to take out a Rift, and if you use Short Spring, it's not, so that's why we're using Charging Spring. We're using subsidized parts here because of the 500 gold at the beginning of the match, which is quite good for this level where you're kind of coin starved in the beginning. Other traps, floor Scorcher. We're going to use Viscous tar a lot, so controlled Resonator is the Resonator of choice. Charging Spring again because Charging Spring improves the damage per second, or I guess I should say damage per refire rate per cost, or what I would call the cost effectiveness of the trap. It improves that by 20%. If you look at something like Double Spring, it makes it faster, but it costs more. That only increases the cost effectiveness by 8% once you factor in those 2 factors. Short Spring is the most cost effective. It gives you 24% increase in cost effectiveness. Not much more than Charging Spring, which is why I don't generally use it. In general, for survival, I think Charging Spring is good because if you have enough spots on the floor and the walls and so forth that you can place a lot of traps, since Charging Spring increases the cost effectiveness, it's better than Double Spring for survival. Of course, Double Spring is the best for endless. Only on survival, I was using double spring on the throne room, for example, because there aren't very many spots to place traps, so double spring actually is a little bit better there. Anyway, charging spring, heat activated trigger as usual, since we're using a lot of fire traps. Same setup for floor scorcher, Spitfire wall, and wall blades. They all use the same parts. Great wall barricade. Revenge rune is irrelevant here, and so is double struts, because we're not going to be having our barricades take any damage. The only thing that's really relevant here is subsidized parts. I think this should be stamped parts. We're using a lot of barricades, so stamped parts. I think we're using 8 barricades, which, given that they cost $17.50, that's quite a bit. So we're using stamped parts instead of the 500 gold. Let's see, I think that's it. Let's move over to the match. Again, we're going to be picking Midnight for the stealth, so we don't have to interact with the minions. We've got our setup. We are using smashing deals, mainly because I do not have fire sale. Kidnapped a leprechaun because starting coin on this one is very critical. Big spender for more starting coin, and then ultimate set of tools for more trap damage, since we're just doing trap damage. And that's it. Let's get started. Alright, here we are in the restricted section with Midnight.
Never see me coming.
These first couple of waves are the most critical, kind of difficult to set up.
If I were them, I'd tread lightly.
I'm going to set up some burn, set up some slow.
This will be
These
their
barricades
end.
are going to channel the enemies into one path, which is kind of key here.
This will stop them. Let them come.
And I'm going to have to do some little fanciness here with setting up a floor scorcher right when enemies get on top of it to get the most benefit out of it.
They've broken through a gate!
Once a bunch of minions get on top, bam, come back. Same thing with wall blades.
Building a better mouse. Lure them here.
Alright, we got enough stuff there for the time being. Gonna go place some BGH ballistas because we have a bunch of rifts spawn points. Want to cover all the rifts and also cover some boss pathing. So corners like this are really good places to put ballistas. I also need 1 Brimstone to cover the exploders that come that way. I'm going to go ahead and place a couple of these here.
Let them come.
And that should cover that. The exploders just run over that Brimstone and die rather nicely before they hit the barricade. That's just what we wanted. That guy is taken care of. Now we're going to go around and place some barricades for the next waves.
Lure them here.
And our heroes destroyed the unstable rift, and there was much rejoicing.
Next wave's going to have explosive dudes on this other side, so we got to get ready for that. This is a special spot that's just the right spot to hit them all and have them explode before they get to the barricade. So you can kind of see this square that's drawn on the ground. You just put it right in the corner. Same thing on the other side. I think there's a boss coming soon also. I'm going to go ahead and put that up. Alright, now we're going to fill up this hallway. It's good for this entrance as well as the north entrance. It'll be used for the same hallway, same traps for 2 different groups of dudes.
That will be one with the shadows.
It's always good to check the coins. Put arrow walls on the faraway walls and wall blades on the close ones.
If I were them, I'd tread lightly.
They've summoned a boss minion. Boss minion defeated.
Building a better mouse. Or trap. This will stop them. Useful.
So we funneled these 2 entrances to the same hallway here. We're also going to funnel this south entrance to the same hallway eventually as well. Might as well block this part off while we're here. Now we have the barricade set up that we're going to have for the rest of the match.
The enemy army is attacking on another front. They've broken through a gate.
Carefully set.
Go ahead and build a little bit more of this hallway just in case. And then we're going to start needing to prepare for this south entrance. I should mention that these BGH ballistas I put here can both hit the rift that spawns here as well as murder the bosses that come through this doorway, so it's a good spot for them.
Well, gotta watch my tail.
An unstable rift is opening. It must be destroyed. We have destroyed the unstable
So all 3 of those can hit the rift. Seems like overkill, but sometimes you can get a boss spawning there at the same time that you get the rift spawn, and if you don't have multiple ballista, then they won't be able to take out the rift.
Ooh, that made my hair stand.
So I'm going to start building here, right as this south entrance comes around this corner is when they all kind of are in a bunch. So that's where I'm going to start building the heavy part of my
That's great.
trap setup.
Sneaky.
I'm going to put this floor Scorcher far enough away that it doesn't knock minions back. In general, I'm trying to be careful not to knock minions back too much, just because it could slow down the match a bit.
If I were them, I'd tread
So again, I'm putting wall blades on the close wall and Spitfires on the far wall.
stop them?
They're kind of inconsistent spots for ceiling traps here. That's why I'm not bothering with them. I have enough other things to do with trap slots besides ceiling. So I'm just skipping it altogether.
Carefully set.
So I can come over here by my BGH just to get a little bit of extra damage on this guy. That setup looks pretty good, so now I can just start building down this wall to cover all of the lanes.
Let them come.
So we're already ready for this lane.
Enemies incoming! They've broken through on another front!
Lure
They've
them
broken
here.
through a gate!
I know the night.
Should be some hunters coming here. I'm gonna take those out. There they are.
Unstable rift is opening.
Put one more BGH there just to
Destroy
make
it.
sure Lysander, when he comes, dies immediately.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
I didn't think it was possible to be more terrific.
Alright, I just need one more trap, and that is another Brimstone over here. This is kind of a magic spot as well that hits all of the exploders that come this way. As soon as I get a little bit of coin, there we go. So that's kind of a magic spot that hits all of those exploders.
Orc trap.
So with this type of setup, you can build all the nice barricades to keep everybody in one lane without having all your barricades exploded, which is always good. So I should be pretty much set for the rest of the match. 65 traps is all you need. That's probably a little bit too many actually. Better safe than sorry though.
boss is on its way.
Lysander should die immediately.
An unstable rift is opening. Destroy it.
The enemy's boss is down.
We have destroyed the unstable rift.
Last wave is when we get these kamikazes over this direction.
Final wave.
So they all go nicely through that Brimstone and die.
The boss minion has entered the battlefield.
No barricades were harmed in the making of this film. Dread's gonna die, he's got plenty of traps. He also has this BGH Ballista fortuitously put on the corner here.
Boss defeated.
This one was kind of close on time compared to how I usually do it, but still 5 stars. Again, this is Elron. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a set of traps I think is effective for the restricted section. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, let me know in the comments. If you found a set of traps that you think might be better than this, then let me know that too. Thanks everyone. Talk to you next time.